Cool, so my name's Barry. This is the NWC show. This week in wrestling, episode 7. First time I've done this in a couple of weeks. I took it off to do my challenges and train, and I'm joined by the man himself, SCWSteve. Steve, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having us on. It's March Madness, isn't it? We're on the road to WrestleMania, just come off Revolution, lots to talk about, and I really appreciate you having me on your channel. It's great to be back here.
To say it's madness is an understatement. Wrestling has just seemed to have I don't know, like it went weird again. Like it's like now we had like lull in January time when it was like this is getting really shite. The Elimination Chamber pay-per-view was probably one of the worst pay-per-views I've saw in a little bit of time, and then I took a break and it seemed everything just happened. So maybe it's me. Maybe I should stop watching wrestling so you guys can enjoy it.
To be fair, it's drunk more than anything. But depending on how you look at it, some things are good, some things are bad. But hey, it's got us talking, and that's the most important thing I look at the moment.
Definitely, man. So before we go into today's show, well, everybody go subscribe to me. Obviously, I need the subscribers more than what Steve does, but then go subscribe to Steve. He puts out great content. Go check out his fantasy booking video for the New Day. It is very fun. I did watch it. I enjoyed it. Thought it was cool. And on that, let's talk about Big E breaking his neck. So see the way that he fell is the way that I broke my neck and I wasn't able to wrestle again. So it's the exact same injury that I had. And I've just never, obviously, Big E's got a lot more money than what I did when I was 18, 19. But I just never wrestled again. But it was a horrible injury. And I know the pain, as much as you're like, oh, it's not that bad. You feel fine. But it's the couple of months later when it starts to really hurt. But it's a bad injury for a Smackdown show.
It was awful. It was really hard to look at as well, especially when you could see more clips that were online. When you saw it actually on the show, it wasn't as obvious, let's just say. But when obviously you see the clips going around on Twitter, it looked really a nasty bump. And obviously with him being obviously taken out on the stretcher, and that, he gave the thumb up to say it'd be okay. I'm just pleased. I mean, the guy's so positive. Like he's saying there's no surgery. He's got feelings, like he showed he could feel with his hands and stuff. So that stuff's really, really positive to see. He deserves all the very, very best. Like you say, he's going to be out for a long, long time. I'm just glad it's not surgery, but hopefully he can come back in some capacity, and hopefully he can be pushed in a strong capacity again, because I mean, just to see the outpour that everyone's had for him, giving him support, well wishes, obviously I'm sure you and myself give the same out there to him as well, wishing him all the best and very quick recovery, but hopefully he can come back and be back in the main event picture, because I mean, to be fair, the way he was taken out of it was a bit bizarre just to begin with. So to see the support he's got, everyone's going to be on his side, so fingers crossed he can come back in a strong position and also can come back at all. We want to see him healthy first and foremost.
Definitely. I think this is a good way to reset that New Day thing into it. Like, instead of having him still part of it, obviously it's a terrible thing that's happened, but it's a good way to refresh his character, go away, come back, and just we can get something new from it. Hopefully he comes back and, like you said, he's in that main event picture because he deserves it. He's great at what he does, and he's been there for years. And one thing I want to say, if you want to feel old, is the Drew McIntyre video that I just made. Is he's been there for 15 years. Like, he's been debuted back in 2008, 2007, something like that. And it's like, that's 15 years ago. I remember 2008. I was just finishing school and I was making it. And I was like, why do I feel so old? Like, I feel like I'm going to fall apart at some point. But the Biggie thing is pretty shit. But talking about that, we'll talk about something that's the most awkward thing that I've ever seen is Pete Dunne being on Smackdown. What's your thoughts on the name and the what's your thoughts? I don't know what to say about it.
I mean, to be fair, it's just to get us talking. I think WWE does this stuff on purpose now. They obviously think, well, like, if we change his name to James Dunn, let's look at it. WWE obviously want to have the name rights and stuff like that. When you're going through NXT UK, and it's still seen as the Indies, they come up to NXT. It's usually NXT UK ones that keep their names. Like, you look at, for example, like an Eli Drake become LA Knight in NXT, so instantly already made that name change. Pete Dunne's come up. And then they've turned around and said, right, okay, we need to change it. What can we do? Like I said, if it's James Dunn, people go, oh, I understand they've had to change it, whatever. But people may sort of keep calling him Pete Dunne. They've called him Butch, and they've done it because they want to get a reaction. And Twitter blew up. And Pat McAfee made comment on it as well. And commentary went, look, Butch is causing a storm on social media. It was for the whole wrong reasons, but it's got over because we're talking. We know about it. Is it as bad as Dewdrop? No, but it's up there with bad. I mean, to be fair, I've just recorded my own Q&A for later this week. I'm used to a Bushwhacker Butch.
Right.
I'm used to Butch Reeds. I didn't see those were so bad back in the day, but this seems to feel a lot worse. And to be fair, tip of the cap as well. He just didn't look happy, did he? Let's be fair, when he come on camera.
No, it's so awkward, isn't it, as well? Like, it's just like, I get when I'm doing it to get people talking about it and try and promote it and stuff like that. But like, it's just, there is a limit to what you can do. Like, just, the guy's got a name. He's just call him Pete or Dunn. Just call him, like, change the spelling of Dunn. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be weird constantly. WWE especially, like, Dewdrop and stuff like that. Like, we all know them as somebody else. We don't need them to be changed, but it is WWE. Like, it is going to get people talking about it. And on to that point as well, man, did you watch the Pat McAfee and Vince McMahon thing that the kind of podcast that they done? Because it was a good insight into Vince McMahon, but it did seem like Vince McMahon was just like, I'm clearly your boss. Here's the questions you can ask me, and I'll try and act cool. Like, you can tell that, like, his shoes that he had on, his running shoes, they're like £185 shoes. Like, it's like, 'cause I've got his exact same pair, and it's like, he's just wearing them like just to go for a wee interview. Do you know what I mean? I know I wear them for like running and training and stuff, but like they're like expensive shoes. I'm trying to act normal. I'll wear like a pair of jeans, these wee shoes, and sit here and try and be like a normal person. And then some things you're like when he was talking about the bit when he's like, oh, I was on the road. Being on the road's pretty hard. You need to find your family. When he's talking about like Undertaker, and it's like, you're like a billionaire. How you're not on it? Like, you're not living it rough. Like, as a wrestler on the road, like, you're staying in the best hotels, taking a private jet. But it was weird to like, why is he trying to be normal to everybody?
Yeah, I can understand it. But the thing is, it's an interesting insight to get inside the head of Vince McMahon. Like you say, there is going to be that level of portrayal of like, you know, this is what you can ask me and this is what I'm going to put over. Because there are some bits where I feel like, that's not on the table. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to discuss that. But I mean, still to just hear the man talk and the way that the man thinks a little bit, it still kind of felt a bit refreshing because you sort of understood some of the decisions. You get to see things from a different perspective, I suppose, because a lot of the time we get like the perspective of like what we see on the dirt sheets of like, oh, this is what's supposed to be backstage. This is what, you know, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting, or you know, we watch our Wrestle Talks or What Cultures, and that's where we get a bit of our, you know, our bit of our news and tell. But this is coming from the man himself. And even though, like you say, it may have like a, let's say, a tinted glasses of the way that portrayal was being put over, it's still good to get a different perspective.
Definitely, it's cool. It's cool as well when you see like somebody who is like Vince McMahon. He made wrestling what it is. Like, he's made us fans, and he's been in wrestling our whole lives. Like, he's the person that's been in charge and creating it, and it's cool to see him kind of talk about what's behind the thoughts on it as well. And coming on to that bit is, do you think Cody Rhodes is going to be coming back to WWE, or do you think this is some sort of weird work that Tony Khan has worked up in like whatever creatine pre-workout rage that the guy's been on?
Well, I have to wait and see. I think if Cody is going to debut, it's going to be tomorrow because it's in Jacksonville. I think that would be the perfect place for it. It's a little dig into AEW if Cody was to debut in Jacksonville, Florida on Raw tomorrow night. So if it's going to happen, that's where it's going to be. The match will be Seth Rollins. The only other way I could see it happening is being an open challenge for WrestleMania and Cody debuts at Mania. But I think WWE would want the publicity beforehand. So I feel it's tomorrow or not at all if I had to predict. But what do you feel? Do you think Cody's going to turn up?
I think it's, like you said, it's one of those weird things in it. You don't know if he'll come. It's no like he's definitely going to turn up. Like, I don't know if he goes back to AEW. I think it's kind of wasted, this little bit that he's doing, unless he comes back with like a RVD gimmick, like just prove like, oh, I was going to go to the other guys, but I thought I would come back here to help at the small promotion, stuff like that. Yeah, turning him heel. But if he does go to WWE, it just shows that money talks, doesn't it? Like, he's obviously going to get paid a shit ton of cash, and
absolutely.
And I'm not going. If I was getting paid the amount of money that like Kevin Owens and stuff like that are getting paid, I'd call myself Butch. You know what I mean? You can. It doesn't bother me. You're right. Pay me $2 million a year. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can paint me, make me Stardust. Do what you want. Pay me that amount of money. I'm happy. I'll stay there until you need to let me go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing; they get paid good money, don't they? End of the day, and it's a name after all. And it'd be interesting. I mean, to be fair, can you imagine all that to bring Cody Rhodes back and then not use the son of a plumber? It would be a bit weird, wouldn't it? But they've done it before, like you say, with Stardust. So we'll have to see how they'll portray him if he wants to come back.
It's just kind of weird, the new, like, in wrestling as well. Like, leading up to, before I took my break a little bit, is the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which was one of the longest pay-per-views I think I've ever tried to sit through. Like, it felt so dragging. Like, like, this is it ever going to just end? Like, somebody put this pay-per-view to its misery, and it felt like it felt like over there the government's like, guys, we need to turn this off, because it finished like 5 minutes early. I think it was like 10 minutes early. It's if it was like, look, we're ripping the piss here, this is really bad. But it just dragged in, and it felt wrestling was the same for the whole of January, even into the Rumble and stuff. It was just like, fucking hell, man, seems to take ages to get anything done. And that was AEW's side as well, because you know what AEW's like with storytelling. It's if you need to watch like all their shows, check out YouTube, watch fucking this random podcast that we done that explains this storyline for 2 years ago, and you're like, going to just tell me what's going on? I don't know what's happening. But still talk about AEW's ROH getting bought by Tony Khan. Do you think this is a good move? Do you think this is a little bit overpriced for the video library that ROH has? Because you're buying the stuff there, and if there's a lot of tied up, like, people like Raven and all that kind of shit, like, how are they going to manage to... He's notorious for wanting his money. He'll be chatting at Tony Khan's door next week to be like, I need paid. But like, how are they going to work it? I don't know if they're going to run it as an NXT, as AEW seems... If they're going to run it like an NXT, it seems like they're running before they can walk. Like, it's... Like, slow down. Like, you've already got 2 shows. Rampage is pretty missable every Friday. You don't need to watch that hour of wrestling. If you just want to enjoy a good couple of matches, that's it. There's nothing on it. And who watches the YouTube shows? I've never seen them. I don't even know what they're called. I know Big Show's in one. I don't know. But do you think they're going to run it like an NXT, or are they going to just have it like this separate like company? I don't know what they're going to do. What's your thoughts on it?
I think it could be a bit of a blur of the two. I think that it's going to be a bit like a separate company where they will probably bring some of the former ROH stars back. We've already seen like Jonathan Gresham probably will be there as the world champion. Bandito's on that card, the Briscoes. So we probably could see some of those talents. But at the same time, I could see that you said that the NXT kind of vibe as well, because you mentioned these shows. It's Dark Elevation, which I don't watch either, by the way. If anyone does, shout out to you, because you've got more time in your hands than we do. But seriously, like, those people are not getting onto Dynamite. They're not getting onto Rampage. And usually when they do, it's like a losing effort. Like, they've won 15 matches in a row. I've not seen any of them, but they're going to lose now to Lance Archer. You know what I mean? It's something like that, or Kenny Omega or somebody. But at the same time, I think it's a great opportunity for them. Let's take a team that is on TV, Private Party, for example. They're not going to be world tag team champions, but what they could do is they get such valuable experience being tag champions in ROH. So that's where it could be a bit of a benefit for me of crossing and blurring the lines. So there is a potential it could be a masterstroke. I do think the tape library is actually a good deal, because I think if you look at Peacock right now, obviously paying WWE $1 billion for the WWE network in the States. I know we're lucky, we still have the network, but there are people that are paying big money for this stuff. So now AEW's got all these pay-per-views. They've got Honor No More. They've got they've got the talking Impact Wrestling already. We've got like the Honor Club there. We've got obviously All In, which was their first ever show. That's the gamble they started with. All these YouTube shows as well can be put on this platform. So they've got so much wrestling to give already, plus about 2.5 years of Dynamites, nearly 6-7 months of Rampage. So they've got a lot to throw somewhere now. And people would pay big money if it's an HBO, or I don't know if about a Netflix ever be interested, but someone like that could go in and throw money. It would make money out of it. My main gripe with it, and my main worry, if you want, is, like you said, there is the idea of the storytelling, because Tony Khan is going to be booking both shows. So how much is he going to be dedicated to one show over the other? Is one going to benefit more, one going to benefit less? Or is it going to be too much where, sometimes you can take on too much. You look at WCW back in the 90s. They had a 2-hour Nitro, and all of a sudden they introduced Thunder each week, which was a 2-hour show. Nitro went to 3 hours, and all of a sudden every storyline went completely off the rails, and before you knew it, within a couple of years, they were like just non-existent. So that's my fear. But I think Tony Khan will be. I hope he'll have more better ideas of what to do than what WCW did.
Definitely, I fear that in about 10 years we're going to be talking about AEW like we used to talk about WCW. Like we've done watch-alongs for it and stuff like that as well, and we're going to be looking back and being like, oh, remember this company? The way we do with Impact back in 2006, 7, 8, well TNA, whatever it was called, and like 8, and then they tried to done that weird competition with Raw that they got destroyed in, but. Yeah. I feel like we might be looking back at AEW at some point, and is that be like, oh, remember how cool that was? Because just silly mistakes like buying ROH is definitely a good deal, but it's what you do with it. Do you know what I mean? Are you going to miss out on the like you're missing already? For some reason, Tony Khan doesn't want to hire the Briscoe brothers, which I know they've made comments and that kind of stuff, but they're probably the most over indie tag team that's in WWE or AEW at the minute, but he just doesn't seem to want to work with him. And it's like, is that like a personal gripe that he's got? Contracts are coming up. Like some of the stuff, I feel AEW for me, I've made a video on this as well, is there's far too many people in the roster at the minute. Hiring ROH would be able to get, buying them. You can send some people there, but then it's like, I'm under contract with AEW. I don't want to go work in ROH. Like I'm meant to be on Dynamite. You hired me to be there. Like it's not like NXT. If you're a WWE contract, they're still paying you a shit ton of cash to go to NXT. Tony Khan might still do that, but at what point will it be like ROH is bleeding money? Like I can't keep paying you $750,000 to go work in ROH in an indie show in front of 50 people, because people outside the wrestling world don't know who ROH is, because people know WWE. AEW wants that market. People don't watch indie stuff. Like, we watch indie stuff because we're wrestling fans, but you ever try to show somebody that's not a wrestling fan, like, I don't know if your wife's a wrestling fan, but you try and show her like an indie show and she's like, what's this? Like the quality, like the high production quality. You put on like a terrible camera angle, they're like, what's this? You're like, just forget it. Just leave me alone, alright?
Yeah, no, it's so true though. I mean, to be fair, obviously, my wife was with me when we went to the Survivor Series last year. We were in New York for that, but yeah, like you say, any other sort of time really, it's not. I mean, she's not really a wrestling fan in general, but I mean, yeah, to say it would be WWE, maybe AEW at a push if you're going to see anything. But yeah, I mean, like you say, when it comes to ROH, and like you say, I mean, and it comes from a lot of wrestling. Even AEW falls into this. A casual standpoint is the outside market. Wrestling fans go for AEW, go for ROH. WWE have the ability to sometimes grab the casuals in for a WrestleMania, but that's the season they come in. That's why we've got Johnny Knoxville, why we've got Logan Paul. Regardless of whether we like them, want them, doesn't matter. That's why they're there, and that's why they come in, because they might bring someone from outside. That's why Ronda Rousey's, getting her back in, it's the big deal. It's seen as the main event. It's seen as this high-profile thing that it's going to be. Forget if the program's good with Charlotte Flair or not. Some people that's not a wrestling fan go, Ronda Rousey's on WrestleMania. I'm going to watch it because I watched her in UFC way back when. So that's how they kind of bring those extra faces in, because WWE, for example, doesn't cater to us where these other promotions do. But the thing is, though, because they do promote to us, that's why, there is an opportunity why they might not reach out further. And that's why AEW may be stopping at the audience that they're currently at, because they don't seem to be growing higher than that sort of 1 million mark. And although their quality of the product they're giving us, I think is fantastic. It's the best out there on the market right now. It's still not going to a further. They need basically someone like an MJF to blow into superstardom. They need someone that can go on his level as a babyface to blow into superstardom to Hollywood. That's what gets them to the next level. They need an Austin Rock kind of level guy to come in right now, which, let's be fair, they don't exist in wrestling in general at the moment. MJF is probably your closest, and he's like your typical 80s bad guy at this particular point in time.
I feel as much as I like MJF, I think his stuff with CM Punk recently has been probably the best work that he's done in his career.
Amazing.
I don't see him being a Rock or an Austin or anything like that. Like, no, than now, anywhere near like the world champion in AEW. So I have a ton of issues with AEW as well. WWE is terrible. People need to stop kidding on like AEW don't have these problems. If you go to Twitter, AEW is a perfect wrestling promotion, when the world champion, who I think is fantastic and I've watched for years, doesn't feel like a world champion. The world champ main event match at the pay-per-view didn't feel like a world championship match. I could have been an opener. No. Didn't really matter. And it's like, you're just belittling that title. Like, the women's title means more than the men's title at the minute because they've built Britt Baker. They've kind of just let Adam Page flounder around like he's a cowboy. There you go, you get the belt.
Yeah.
And see you, and we'll put you up against Adam Cole because he's meant to be good. And what we're doing here, guys? Come on, let's get some. That's what WWE. Obviously, they've been doing this for years. What they do good is consistency. You can miss it for 10 years. Put a Raw in, and you feel like you've caught up because it's pretty much the same shit. That's the problem with WWE is we're watching the same thing week in and week out. But with AEW, you miss like 2 weeks, and you're like, "What's that? Like, who? Why is he in a match with him? What he's a champion? What's happening?" Like, you say, "Oh, he's won 26 matches on Elevation. Where's Elevation? How do I watch that? Who is this guy?" Keep knowing AEW. Obviously, they've made a couple of big purchases, ROH, and then talent, which where Tony Khan is getting the cash from. I know his dad's a billionaire, millionaire, but at some point, it's like, this is hurting everybody. Do you know what I mean? But hiring Jeff Hardy, when he came out, I popped like a wee girl. I screamed a wee bit, and it was fun. What was your thoughts when Jeff Hardy came out? Even though he done that wee awkward dance as his brother's getting the shit kicked out of him in the ring, but what did you think about it?
I love the dancing. I think that should be the entrance to every party, everything that you ever. If you go into work, that's how you should go in on Monday morning if you're watching this. But personally, for me, looking at it, it was probably the worst kept secret. Jeff Hardy going to AEW. I think the second he left WWE and they released him, everyone knew that's where he was going. So I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. And obviously that meant with the Matt Hardy storyline as well, that was clear where the direction that was going to lead into. Why Andrade probably came into that AHFO, easy to say, to begin with. But yeah, I mean, for me, I thought it was a big deal. And the reason for it is, we get to see the Hardy Boys in the best tag team division in the world. And, I'm excited to see them against the likes of, the Young Bucks one more time. We saw it in ROH, but like to say how many people were watching that match against ROH when they did the match. We can see it in AEW. It's going to be really exciting. You got these other tag teams like Red Dragon in there, Jurassic Express. There's so many teams that they can go in there. Even the private parties that of this world they're going to start off with. They're going to be some killer matches, and it's going to be the perfect way for the send-off for the Hardy Boys in the wrestling world.
Definitely, man. Sting, Darby Allin has to happen as well. Doesn't it? The Hardys against those two are just Jeff Hardy against Darby Allin. Just let them just kill each other. Send out tables. Just the tables consistently. Spend as much money as you need to get tables and everything there, because that match is just going to be. It'll be like a one-up of just who's going to jump off the highest thing. And I'd be stressed, but I'll love to see it. Because it'll be funny to be like, who's going to hurt themselves the most in this match? Jeff Hardy's like off the top of the Tron thing. Darby Allin's on the wherever. And it's just like, this is going to be cool. But I think it's a cool signing. But again, it's like Jeff Hardy coming in kind of belittles. I feel sorry for Adam Cole because he came in and then it was like, here's Daniel Bryan, Keith Lee, Jeff Hardy. There's been other ones. I can't remember who else, but there's been other people coming in. Adam Cole's just kind of left. Like, what about me? Like, I'm cool too. I was in NXT. I was over, and it's like, all right, you calm down. We've got other people that we like to see. But what about William Regal coming in as well? Do you think? I think him coming in, get Tony Khan. He needs to stay off TV. That guy looks like he's on drugs. We've all saw people on drugs, and Tony Khan looks like he's clearly took some drugs before he walked out. Have William Regal as the face of AEW, the commissioner guy, the guy in charge that's going to be telling people what to do. Because Tony Khan, he can run in front of the camera. He's the most awkward person I've ever seen in my life. But what do you think about William Regal coming in? You think it's a good call, or what do you think they're going to do with him?
I love it. I personally am a big fan. It's my favourite part of Revolution. I really like this twist of the storyline with Moxley and Danielson, obviously now being a team. Who are they going to bring in as well as these young guns to mould them for the future? Because that's the idea of this storyline. It's technically NXT in and amongst the story of Regal coming in. Yeah. So for me, it's absolute perfection from that. But the commissioner idea long term, I think would be a great idea because it keeps Tony Khan off TV. I think that would be a good move.
I think it maybe make him like commissioner of like make like a brand war or something like that. Like William Regal ends up being commissioner at ROH, or ROH takes over the place of Rampage and it becomes like ROH Fridays or something like that. And he books young talent there that they have like this Nexus kind of vibe to it, like they kind of go up going against the guys on AEW. But the only problem is the guys on AEW are the young guys anyway, so it doesn't. You're kind of like who else do you get? Just more unknown people that then saturates the pool of unknown people in AEW, which is good for us because we know who these people are. But like you put it on for just a casual fan. But then again, it's not really for casual fans. But I think it's fantastic that they've got him there. It's the knowledge that Tony Khan's got around him, with JR, William Regal, Arn Anderson, Big Show, Mark Henry, Dean Malenko, a ton of people. Like he's just got all this not in it for. And it's just like let them book shows too. Like just, I wouldn't be surprised if he just sits and goes, right, guys, what matches would you put on? Because why would he sit and book this? I would get them to do it. They're the legends in the business. They've been doing this for years, and they saw it at the highest peak it's ever had back in the 90s, 2000s time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the wealth of knowledge there. I mean, you know, this company shouldn't fail at this point with the people they've got around him. So fingers crossed it will continue to go from strength to strength. And like I say, I'm enjoying the TV product, but like you say, the influence these people can put in, suggestion of matches, pushing certain superstars, potential future stars, you know, there's so much great there. And obviously I don't know if I missed the name, but even something like Chris Jericho, that's obviously one of the original faces in amongst there as well. You know, he's been there and done it for over 30 years also. So, you know, there's so much of a wealth of knowledge and experience there. So yeah, Tony Khan's got a lot he can dip into for a bit of advice when here and where needed.
Oh, definitely, it's my favourite show to watch now. It's the only one I watch on a weekly basis. I don't watch Raw or that anymore. Like I patched those reviews that went to a minute review, and it was like watching Raw just got so tedious. Like those 3 hours or 2:45 taking out the breaks, when it's got so like this is unbearable to watch because it's the same stuff every single week. But AEW is one that I watch all the time because I think it's good product, and like you said, you got Jericho and stuff like that there. As much as people are saying he's not really that good, like he's an old man now. He's proved himself for years, and he's been in this for a long time. But on that point about people being old and no talking about us is Sting. How was Sting going around in Revolution acting like New Jack, jumping off the top of like the wee thing, going through tables, and he's like he's older or the same age as my partner's dad. And he's like getting it off the couch, and he's like, "Oh, my back," and that stuff. And I'm like, "How is this guy doing this?" Like, Sting's like 5 years, 6 years older than Undertaker. Undertaker looks like he's 60 odds. Like he really looks like he's been hurt bad with the age. Sting looks like he could be 52, 53. He's still doing cool stuff. What do you think about Sting being Sting? He's had a longer wrestling career than I've been alive. So what do you think about Sting being Sting in 2022 and just being weird? I don't know how you would describe him in this age.
He's a freak of nature. That's pretty much it. I don't know. The words don't describe this man. I mean, he's supposed to be the one influencing Darby Allin. It seems to have gone the other way around. That's the only way I can take that bump off of Revolution. But at the same time, like, I mean, if we can do it and he can do it safely and get away with it, power to him. Because, I mean, there can't be much left in the tank for Sting in a wrestling career. We're talking years here. I can't see him wrestling in 5 years from now. So when we have these moments, let's just cherish them. I'm so happy to see Sting back in the ring and doing this stuff. And I never thought I'd see anything like that. I don't know about you.
No, but this is what really, because I'm a huge Sting fan, I think everybody knows that, is WWE had him. After his TNA run, which was good, he done some of his best work in TNA, WWE had him and somehow managed to balls it up. And that, again, brings it back to the point that why wrestling fans get pissed at WWE quite a lot is he's in AEW doing this shit they knew. How could you have no done, like, give us Sting Taker? You could have gave us that at least. And it didn't need to be a good match. They gave us Taker Goldberg. That was the worst match. Or DX against the Brothers in Destruction. That was... We don't talk about that. That was dark days. But, like, how could they have not gave us something in WWE, but they let it slip? Then now we get to enjoy him in AEW, and we just need to imagine how Sting versus Undertaker would be. But if I'm his age and I'm doing half the stuff that he's doing, then I'm all right, because I struggle there now. Like, I get sore knees and shit. I'm only 30. I'm like, oh, my knee's sore. Like, he's just up there jumping off tables. I just finished my 48-hour challenge, and then that was on the Sunday night. So I stayed up to watch it because I had to get back to a normal sleeping pattern. And then I saw Sting do that, and I was like, I'm complaining I'm sore after doing like 40 miles, and this guy's 60 odd jumping off of like her grannies and stuff. Or like, when I remember when I was younger, my gran was like 60, and I was like, oh, that's ancient. She wouldn't be jumping off of like a fucking through tables and stuff like Sting. That's just don't even know how to describe that man. But talking about legends from that Attitude Era, so we've got Austin and Owens Mania talk show thing. What they're doing, is it for Mania wise? It's feeling like there's a lot of celebrity matches, and I get the casual fan stuff that we touched on, but like it really feels like you just try to piss everybody else. The rest of the year we stick with this product and watch it and try our best to enjoy it, which it gets hard, and we all know because of my rants it gets really hard. But they're bringing Austin Owens in. Austin's kind of obviously that Attitude Era celebrity kind of thing, doing a talk show. What do you think about it? You think it's going to be cool? You think it'll turn into a wee brawl? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think it'll be a brawl. I think it's going to be... I don't think it'll be a match. I still don't think it'll be a match. Although I think if anyone was going to do a match, I think Austin would be able to do it with his intelligent. I think it'd be a few minutes. And Austin is a guy that knows how to make something work. So from that reason, if it was done, I think it'd be done cleverly. But it's all building towards that stunner, isn't it? Who would get the stunner first? I think KO would probably try it. And, of course, then he'll get stunned by the master. KO, obviously, last year, stunned Logan Paul. Was, a social media thing for the casuals. This year, it's going to be stunned by Austin. So, I mean, the thing is that you need to make something for it afterwards. If Owen's going to have this big moment with Austin, he needs to come out looking strong afterwards. Otherwise, you're doing it for nothing. It's just a mania moment that doesn't mean anything. Same with the other matches. If you've got Logan Paul in a tag match, Dominic Mysterio needs to pick up the victory. Great for the future. His father's well known around the world as well. You look at the other match with Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn needs to win. It's those stuff that comes together that makes these things strong. But for Austin and KO, I can't see a match, but definitely could see a brawl. There's definitely going to be one more can of whoop ass being opened. We saw it the last time it was in Texas and Dallas. So let's see it here. And it's Steve Austin, that glass shatter. It's going to go absolutely electric in that place, and I can't wait to see it.
Like I don't even care when Austin comes out, what he does, where he goes. He walks out and pot him like a child. Like you said, glass goes and that's it. Like what is it? As wrestling fans, we're out. Somebody drops there's a glass bin not too far from my house. Like when people ditch out their wine bottles and stuff like that. Yeah. Here I'm in Glasgow. There's a lot of that happens, and you can hear just tons of it like hitting it, and I'm always like, just sounds like Austin's coming along. Like
yeah,
but. That wrestling ruined us back in the 90s about that guy, so it was no internet watching wrestling, and it was fun times. But I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be, again, could this be like turn into like a wee team? Austin Owens do it to WrestleMania Backlash, which is the worst name ever, but we tag team, they call themselves the Stunning Stunners or something. Just take a piss at it, just have some fun, and do a wee last match for Austin, be goodbye kind of match. But talking about on the WrestleMania thing, the Hall of Fame this year is looking like you've got Taker, Vader. Is Psycho Sid confirmed yet, or is he still
not confirmed? But it's heavily rumored. I believe I saw it on Wrestling Purists on Twitter.
If you get those three, like just those three themselves, Taker, Vader, that itself is insane. Yeah, then Psycho Sid in there. That's like three big guys from my childhood that I remember. Well, later in my childhood that I remember, and it's like. Just insane, the stories. I know Vader's not with us anymore and stuff like that, but stories these guys have got would be insane. But it's like last year, was it last year or the year before, we got the Bellas getting added in. And it's like, how can we take this serious? Like, Vader, 100% should be on Taker, Psycho Sid, 100%. Bella twins, let's, come on, can we not just leave that 10 years, wait till we don't watch this anymore, and then you can add them in, because people's forgot how. I don't really know. Like they've not done it. Like Vader is in after people like the Bellas, which is a slap in the face. But the Hall of Fame this year, I think, is going to be really fun. Are you looking forward to? Who else would you like to see get added in? Are you looking forward to the Hall of Fame kind of ceremony thing they do?
I am looking forward to it. I think I don't watch it every year, and I don't watch every entrant, if I'm honest. But I would make a conscious effort to see The Undertaker, because I think he's one of, if not the greatest character of all time. So for that alone, it's definitely worth the watch. I suggested an idea of Psycho Sid before because he was the Undertaker's first WrestleMania main event back at WrestleMania 13. I'd like an Undertaker-themed Hall of Fame, which I know Vader is technically not full of part of, but I'm sure they've wrestled before. So if there's Undertaker influenced, I'm down for it. Whether it's, the Bone Street crew, a couple of members there that have not already been inducted go in, whether it's his wife, Michelle McCall, which, obviously that would be kind of nice for him, and nice for her as well. So those sort of people I think would be quite fitting. But it's hard to really think. Maybe a couple of people that have inspired Undertaker, maybe someone from the 60s, 70s, 80s that he watched growing up could be quite fun as well.
I think there's so many, I want cool kind of people to go in. I know Michelle McKill's got cool in its name. Shouldn't be going in at this early stage. Let her go in later on. But let's get some people from that period that we look back really fondly on like that. Hell, even put Sabu in it, you know what I mean? Let him, because he's no wrestling anymore, he's retiring, so let him go in and let him give him a good payday and send him off. The guy's done a ton for wrestling. I know he's not done a lot in WWE, but he done a ton for wrestling and put on pretty much insane matches all the time. But I think it'd be cool just having a year of, and also it does make us feel that we're getting, I don't know about you, but it makes me feel I'm getting really old. My guys are going into the Hall of Fame. I'm like, what's this about? Come on, calm down. It's starting to sweat.
It's worrying when you say references from the Attitude Era and the modern fans go, I don't know that. And you're like, oh, I'm getting on. It's not a good feeling.
Just gone coffin shot him soon. I'm gonna. That's my plot right here. Setting up my retirement funds and stuff like that. But it's embarrassing when you start to realise that we're getting old. But it's still 30 years till I'm 60. It's 30 years. So I'm like, it's still a long way away, but I feel like I'm 2 weeks away from it already. Man, so what are you feeling about the belts coming together? Are you think they should be joined together, or are you like the majority of Twitter fans that are crying about it because they say that, I'm just going to make a dig at people, I know all those subscribers, people saying that it's never worked when the belts have came together. The belts were always together. Only recently did they split up. This thing that they do now has probably been 10 years old, because you had the WCW style World Heavyweight belt and then the Undisputed Championship belt that was separate, but they were literally WWE, and was the big gold one was the WCW style, but they have brought them together before, which people are really forgetting. But then, like you just said there, most of these people that are forgetting it weren't alive when when they were doing this, so they just know it's always been split. But do you think you should bring it together, or do you think it's another shot in the foot of WWE doing it?
I can see both sides of the argument, to be honest. Obviously, if you have just one champion right now, it's Roman and nobody else. So it's always good when you've got a bit of continuity and trying to build new stars to have that second world title. But at the same time, when the draft started, and here's that historian coming out of me now, so I do apologise, Barry, but if you go back to 2002 when the draft first began, there was only one world champion for the first few months. That person would go on both shows. That was the basis of being the world champion. There was one tag champion, one women's champion. And that way you can actually have an excuse to do, say, a women's mid-card championship. Because, yes, when you've got Ronda Rousey, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch all going for the world title, what about the people like a Liv Morgan, a Doudrop, a Rhea Ripley? They can go for the mid-card title in the meantime until they feel they're ready to push those people up for the main title. So there is pluses, there are negatives to it. Personally, for me, I'm happy to see how it's going to play out really at this point, because I've seen so many different multiple rumors. I don't know what to trust and what not to trust. And sometimes it's fun to see it just play out. I mean, I try and avoid spoilers as much as I can. A little bit of backstage reports, gossip if you want. That stuff's juicy. I'm in for all of that. But when hearing this is going to happen from whoever, I try and avoid those as best as possible. So for me, I'm down for either, but I can see the benefit of merging titles, and potentially as well with the rosters getting smaller. Potentially we could see an into the brand split. There's not a guarantee we get a draft if there's more releases potentially coming after WrestleMania like there's been for the last few years. I
think as well, like you said about back in 2002, which again makes us feel really old because we remember this when it started. Yeah. The US belt, I think, was on SmackDown. The Intercontinental belt was on Raw, or the other way around, whatever way it was. And they meant something. It was that was the champion of the brand, and then the WWE guy who was the big world champion was going between both. So I think it was Undertaker. I remember the most at the time, and you would see him on Raw and see him on SmackDown. But it was like the US and the IC title were the brand champions. Like those were the guys that led the brand, and then obviously you had the world champion, and you were kind of moving up. The IC belt was a kind of joke just now, but it's like there is options for them to do it, and I think it just makes the belt seem really cool. Just one belt, one world champion, which would be Roman Reigns. Like he's the only guy that should be the world champion at the minute. But then whoever comes and takes the belt off him is going to even get that huge. Like if a Big E or if Big E comes back, or a Damian Priest, a Riddle, Randy Orton, whoever takes that belt, they're going to get a huge pop. They finally bet this big guy that's never been able to get bet, Roman Reigns, for the past 2 years is over as hell. See, like somebody like a Riddle, that would set his career up for the rest of what. You never need to win the belt again. He wins that, but he's just got bragging rights of beating Roman Reigns, and he'll be over as hell for it. But again, you know what it's like when you go to Twitter sometimes, you're just like, nothing's done in wrestling right at all, and everybody's always a fantasy booker that knows how to do this better, but Vince McMahon's sitting in a $900 million fucking house in the middle of nowhere in America that you need to it's like half the size of Glasgow. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's not like he's failing at business. But no, championship wise is Dolph Ziggler NXT title. Thoughts? Because I don't know how I feel about it.
It's a weird one, isn't it? I feel again a bit in the middle. But because I did want to see Braun Breaker lose the belt. I didn't see the point in that. Now, again, if you do believe the inside rumors, Braun Breaker could be moving onwards now from NXT, which I'm not 100% convinced he's quite ready for yet. I would have given him till another 6 months just in his position, personally. I would have liked to have seen him against Gunther as well. Sorry, I'm not saying Walter, but Gunther. I'd have liked to see that as a dream match, because I think it would have been a great NXT championship match. But Dolph Ziggler does have NXT history. He was a mentor on the original NXT, which again makes me feel old even in NXT terms here. We're only going back about 10 years or so, but he was a mentor under the old game show stuff. So he has NXT history, and for him to come back, that could play into a fun storyline narrative if they wanted to do that. Of course, he's going to be a transitional champion. It's going to be till Stand and Deliver. It depends if he's going to take on Braun Breaker again. He could go against Tommaso Ciampa, could be the one trying to save the brand if Braun Breaker's moving up. But I mean, for me, I like the shock factor as well, because I completely ruled out when there's no chance of that. We've had so many title changes in the last 8 days alone amongst wrestling. And it's been almost, I know sometimes people say that unpredictability doesn't always work with storyline narrative, but I felt a bit of freshness and a bit of like, this isn't so obvious. And I like that when I watch my wrestling and sit and go, someone could lose the belt, because now all of a sudden the championship match goes in. Even if it is Roman Reigns, he could lose the belt. There is a chance at the moment, because belts are swapping like hot potatoes at the minute. And that's what they used to do all the time in the Attitude Era. People would be champions for like 6 to 8 weeks, and that'd be it. You'd keep it fresh before it gets stale.
100%, man. I think it's cool. I don't know how to feel about it. Like, it feels like Dolph Ziggler's went backwards. So he was a world champion, then he went to the mid card, lower card. He's back to NXT. Like, well, not back to, he's winning NXT. So it's like he's went the opposite. Instead of Braun Breaker's got to go NXT champion and up the way. But I think it's cool. It's fresh. Like you said, it freshens it up. Like we're shocked about it. It's like that's what we want for wrestling. It's a story. We want to get shocked. I want to watch it and be like, anything can happen here. And I feel like maybe WWE's just like, let's just throw whatever we've got for this WrestleMania season. Hopefully it works. And if it doesn't, then the fans they can grind through the next 9-10 months till the next WrestleMania season through hell, because they're going to give us shit for the rest of the year. So if we don't make this work for them, they're going to make it terrible. But I think it's cool. It freshens it up. And that brings it to NXT 2.0. It did need to be done. Something had to be done about NXT, because it got really stale through that pandemic period. It felt NXT was cool. It was different. It was for wrestling fans, and then it got really like stale. Like just stuff. Everything we've already seen was happening. The storylines. Nobody was watching NXT for a storyline. Let's stop kidding on. It was great stories. It was just fucking the matches, and that was it. But NXT 2.0, I don't watch it. Don't care for it. No interested in anybody that's really there apart from Braun Breaker, Walter, or whatever you want to call him, Walter. He's called Walter in the new game. That's what his stare is. But the NXT 2.0 is just missing that it's really missing something. I don't know what it is, but it's missing what the old NXT back in 2016-17 had. But on that point as well, missing something, Impact Wrestling. I've not watched it, and I've been watching the pay-per-views. I catch some clips here and there. I've not watched it as I used to review it, and I've not watched it like that in a while. And I still feel that they're failing to. Everybody who you either watch it and you love it, or you hate it. There's no middle ground for Impact, and they fail to grab people that used to watch it. They feel like it's a lot of time when the reason I stopped watching it is the storylines are the exact same, just different people are put in it. It's if they've got like a wee binder of just like storyline A, storyline B. Like, let's just change it and put this guy in storyline B and this guy in storyline A. They do have good matches. The X Division is still the crown jewel there, but like NXT 2.0, it's missing something. It's just missing that the AEW's got it. WWE has it, obviously. Both their companies, they're up there. Impact, there's no reason why it shouldn't be number 2. They've been here long enough. But they're just missing something in the same way NXT 2.0. I don't know what it is, but what do you feel? Do you think it's missing something, or are you the Impact champion? Because I used to be it, and I gave up because it was just terrible.
I actually got to say, 2022, Impact has made a comeback a bit. It's probably the strongest booking, I'd say, for about 4 years. The problem that Impact has got is they can put on as good a show that they want. They haven't got everything in place. And I think one thing that would take away a lot of people would be your main event picture. Because Moose has been champion now since Bound for Glory, and he's not really had any proper challenges. Now, W. Morrissey is one, you could say, Big Kaz, but Heath was on the last show, and Heath is not a world champion contender. He's been too damage booked elsewhere, regardless of how good of a promo he can do to set a match up, which, let's be fair, I thought was put together pretty well, but it doesn't fit the narrative well. So now Josh Alexander is back. Him versus Moose is finally going to happen at Rebellion. I'm looking forward to that. And because Josh Alexander, in my opinion, is the biggest signing Impact can make all year. Because, you can bring in a WWE guy that's been somewhere before. Josh Alexander feels homegrown. I didn't know him before Impact. He's come in, he's done great things, and he's pushed himself to the top. He feels like, he was a PWI top 10 wrestler last year. Him as the company on his back, I think makes a lot of sense. I really enjoy Honor No More. I think that's really freshened up the product as well. Really gave it a nice little twist. Particularly as well, now Eddie Edwards has joined them as well and turning on Impact. I thought that was a great, well-done storyline. Like you say, kind of copy and paste with stuff they've done previously with other storylines, Aces and Eights, stuff like that. But still, I like the way it's been put together. The Knockouts division, I mean, obviously you've got some great up-and-coming knockouts coming in there. I do worry for the fact of Deonna Purrazzo. If I'm not mistaken, the contract is up this year. Good Brothers could be the same as well. So people like that could be out. But, they do good television product. It's just the fact that no one watches it, and I think as well they lack money. They lack money and the main event picture. I think those are probably your 3 key ingredients that are probably harming Impact Wrestling more than anything. Because even when they've got like the Bullet Club and they've got Jay White on this show, so they are getting some big good names in there, but people still aren't tuning in, and I don't know what that is.
It's like you said, it is. They do have good stuff happening, but it really. I don't know. It's missing something. I don't know what it is. If I knew the answer, I would help them to it. Other thing is, if you ever email them to try and organise podcasts, they're the most rude people you ever speak to. So really, it depends who you get. Some of them are really nice. Other people have been very rude. I don't want to call them out or anything like that. But
no.
Very rude. And people you wouldn't think were rude. I've been in the business for a long time. Yeah. It's weird. Nobody's watching it. I think even if they hire like a Cesaro, nobody's got to tune in to watch Impact. I don't know. It just sounds like a shit name for a show, and that's just me. I don't like AEW's got that wrestling feel to it. WWE has. I know it's no wrestling, but it's got wrestling feel to it. NXT, and then you've got fucking Impact that everybody's just kind of whacking on it. But we've got a comment here from Supersonic that's saying the women's division has been a total mess. It's lacking Asuka, Bayley, Alexa Bliss, Lacey Evans. They're really needed badly. I don't think the women's division's been too bad. I think the booting of it in WWE has been really bad, but all those people, AEW need a ton more people, like a ton more women on their their side. Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, love both women. Match at Revolution wasn't it? They missed something. They don't have it. And everybody knew Britt Baker was going to win because they're not going to take the belt off her. But coming on to towards the end of this stream, so thanks again, Steve, for listening to me shout a wee bit here. But
Thanks for having me.
the control your narrative. Have you seen anything about this? The Braun Strowman and I forgot his name.
EC3.
That's it. I knew it had an E in there. I was like, what's his? It's no big E. What's it called? Control your narrative thing that they've got a. If you ever watched Jim Cornette, he has this hilarious thing on it. So it's like they announce that they've got a TV network deal, and then it's like the week later, and you find out it's on the Pro Wrestling Channel, and it's like, of course you're going to be on the Pro Wrestling Channel, you're a wrestling show. It really feels like Wrestling Society X. That's a throwback for me. I don't know if you know what Wrestling Society X, the MTV show.
I'm not actually so familiar with that. Actually,
you need to check it out, man. I'll find something on YouTube for you to watch because it's really fun. Some good matches on it. X-Pac was in it as well. Sean Waltman, Vampiro, Jack Evans. Who else they have? They had a ton of guys from that were cool back then. But it's like, why are you sitting? Like, what are you doing here? This doesn't make any sense. Why you're doing it? Have you heard anything about it? Or are you just letting it fly right by your head?
A bit of both. I've heard a couple of bits. I saw one thing come up on Twitter of like what looked like someone had like something on the top of it. It looked like they were Marshmallow, the musician, like the thing on top of it. Something like that. It just looked a little bit random and weird. For me, isn't it like in someone's like basement or something as well? It looks really dark and dingy. It just to me doesn't look like a promotion that's going to take off the ground from what I've seen on initial thoughts. But there's so much wrestling out there that I just don't think I can commit to more at this point. But I mean, if they do something that can make me feel like I need to see it because it's making headways for the right reasons, then I'll go out of my way, like GCW has done with Matt Cardona when he's been over there. That stuff has made me go, right, okay, I need to pay more attention to what they're doing. So at least even if I don't watch it, I keep an ear out for what they're doing. But with this so far, there's not enough where I'm controlling my narrative by not tuning in.
I'm taking the choice of not to watch this because, well, I didn't like Braun Strowman when he was in WWE. I don't know. Like, I'm not going. EC3 was good in Impact. Didn't really get used in WWE, but it's not going to make me want to tune in. And that's something that WWE does very good. They'll book you. They can make you the champion, but they can also crush you. Like Karrion Kross, he was cool in NXT. He went up to WWE and the mask thing and that. And all I can see, I love this guy in NXT. All I can see now when I watch him in Indies is that mask, and I'm like, I can't watch you anymore. Like you came out with that, like the wee leather straps and a mask and stuff. You've ruined it for me. Like
it can hurt. It can hurt people.
A couple of years, it'll probably get better, but let's see how it goes. But coming back to that from Supersonic, the women's division, just what I've got you. What do you think? Do you think he's right there, or do you think it's the lack of good booking? I feel it's the booking side of it because they've got the women talent there. Rhea Ripley should be a champion, but they've got Rhea Ripley there, and they're just messing it up. They're putting on tag teams again. Like, why are you doing it? Like, but what do you think? What do you think about the comment?
It's an interesting. I mean, the thing is, strength in depth never hurts. I mean, that you take some of them names there: Oscar, Bayley, Bliss, Lacey Evans. All of them have something they can offer to the table. I mean, Oscar's a fantastic wrestler. So is Bayley, Bliss, all multi-time women's champions as well. Lacey Evans was in the title picture when she was pregnant and left off. She was going to win the title, if you believe the rumor mill at that point. She was going to win that Elimination Chamber. So she would have been a women's champion going into WrestleMania. For me, I look forward to seeing them all come back. But I would say at the moment, looking at things, Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, story is fine. Ronda and Charlotte, but I mean, I think the match itself will be fine. I'm not as invested in the story. I liked the start of the story. I liked the submission element of the story. Then Charlotte tapped out. And then this week, I feel like they're just trying to do what they did a couple of years ago when Ronda was around last time. You know, when she kicked the window of the car. They're sort of trying to do that sort of recreation. It just feels a bit, I don't know, copy and paste, as you said earlier on with Impact. So I'm not as invested in that part so much. But I would like to see those women back. I do think it gives more depth to the women's division. It gives more challenges and fresh matches as well, rather than rematches. But I would say that at the moment, if all of them were back, a lot of them probably would be thrown in tag teams. And I think that's probably a shame. And that then would go onto the booking side of problems.
The tag team thing's just killing it for me at the minute. Just give two of your top talent, Sasha Banks and somebody else, or Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, put them together, have them win the women's tag team titles, and let them sit with them. They don't really defend them, they come out with them, makes them look cool, and then they do that Austin Shawn thing when they fight against each other to see who gets the title for the main title, whatever. That would just, then it gets rid of those belts because they're useless, and bring in a middle females kind of champion, which would make sense. But hey, you're just sitting here on YouTube. We're not making money from talking about wrestling. We're just shouting about nothing. Man, just finishing it off, obviously I made that video about Drew McIntyre. Yes. What do you think? Do you think he should be back in the main event? Or do you think, like me, where he is just now is the right thing to do because he was known as a pandemic era champion? They took him out of it, took him well away from that title picture. He shouldn't be wrestling Happy Corbin. No. I think give him the IC title, let him run with it to the end of the year, have him win the Rumble. Next year, go main event WrestleMania, win the belt then. Long game it. Don't do a short game for this. Let it simmer nicely. Don't do it short game. What WWE always do. It'll be next month. He'll be the champion.
You're never going to roll it out with WWE. I got to say very quickly, it's a fantastic video. Anyone that's not watched it, go out of your way. Make 20 minutes to go and watch it. It's a fantastic video from Barry, looking over the whole career of Drew McIntyre and seeing the situation if he's overrated or not. And like you said there, with the ideas of how you could book him going forward. For me personally, obviously definitely not overrated. And thank you for giving me a shout out in the video as well for my reaction to your tweet. I would say personally, if he's not going to be in the world title picture, the IC title is a great avenue to go down. I think him and Ricochet had a great match on SmackDown previously. They could do that again. For me personally, the idea of being in and around the main event, I think that fans on Twitter, this toxic environment is part to blame because, like you said, the pandemic champion, but then people were like, oh, he's been shoved down our throats. It's like, a main event doesn't have to be in the main event every time, but could be in and around it. And I know that they're thinking Happy Corbin's a big deal because under this gimmick, he's not lost. And that's going to give Drew that notch on his belt. For me, that doesn't do it. I'd have liked to have seen a different opponent. I think, to be fair, right now, the best match you could have done would have been Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. I think that would have been a perfect match for WrestleMania because that's a perfect level. We're not saying that's the main event, but the two main event guys in a sort of semi-main event spot. That would have been great to see. That would have been something I'd have liked to have seen. But as he's on SmackDown, we're not doing the Raw versus SmackDown thing right now. Can't get John Cena in for a night. Happy Corbin's what we've got. It's what we're going to take. And like you say, the long game works pretty well. The only way I can see it being anytime sooner and would say different to your idea would be if they're going to do the UK pay-per-view. Although, if you believe rumours, Drew McIntyre says he wants Tyson Fury. So everyone that loves their celebrities coming in, that could be quite interesting if that was the play. I can see your face reaction because I feel exactly the same. I feel exactly the same. Don't worry. I don't want to see it either. I would rather see Drew versus Roman on that show. But if you're going to drag it out to next year's WrestleMania, like you say, Royal Rumble win, why not? Long game it, perfectly fine with it. As long as Drew is facing people that mean something, then it's fine. It's when he's doing these matches that don't mean anything, that takes him away from the spot that he should be at, in my opinion. That's when perhaps people start throwing the question of if he's overrated or not. Because for me, like you say, he's a once-in-generation talent. He's got a great look. He's got a great height. He's great moveset. Yes, it's took him a while to get to the position he's been in. He had to get released once to do it. But you know what? The guy is a top draw. The guy's a top talent, and he deserves a good spot on the card, whether it's IC champion against someone like a Seth Rollins. That's what this man deserves at this stage of the game.
Man, I don't understand why they don't take the IC belt and make it, like, give it to somebody like Drew who's got the look and can make it mean something, like literally make it like really important. But they don't. They just let it sit there. The other thing I learned the other day, just finishing up the show today, is he's 6'5". Only 14% of people in the world are over 6 feet. Wow. That makes me feel better for being under it.
Yeah.
Only 14% of people in the world are over 6 feet. So that's positive finish to this show.
Absolutely.
Steve, thanks for being on the show. Everybody go subscribe to SCWSteve. You put out great content. You're probably one of the most friendliest people in the wrestling Twitterverse thing, because people, you know how it's like dealing with people. People just, like I said, it's this weird Twitter world that people just seem to just moan about everything, and it's stuff that you don't even need to moan about. But anyway, it's wrestling, but you love it, and that's why I shout about it, because I remember when it was great. And another quote I'll leave you with: I'm feeling inspired. 2 quotes in one video here. wrestling was always good 5 years ago. Everything was always better 5 years ago. You look back 5 years, you're like, oh, they had a cool match, AJ against Cena or AJ against somebody 5 years ago.
I'm sure.
5 years from now, you'll be like, oh, remember when they done Roman against Brock? There you go.
Yeah.
Both quotes. But go subscribe to SCWSteve, puts out fantastic content. Your videos are really fun. And also, just go support any wrestling people I tag, go support them at Wrestling by Will Rage, GG and Wrestling, Mex, Wrestle Things, try to hang Beyond the Ring, try to hang people. There's too many good content creators that are really nice. But Vince, thanks for being on. I think it was actually a year ago today that I was on your channel or Rated R's channel to do my first watch along for WCW. I think it was WCW. It was WrestleMania 10 or some. It might have been Rated R picking a terrible one, but it was. I was on
WrestleMania 9.
I was on your channel or Rated R's to do it, and it was fun. So that's what helped me grow the channel. So just big thanks for that. And you want to plug a video? You want to plug where people should go check you, or what do I do?
I appreciate the plug and appreciate the kind words as always. I've got my Q&A dropping out later today on the channel. That's sort of recording in the book, so just need to finish the quick bit of editing touches to hopefully release later this evening. I've also got some fantasy booking videos like you mentioned there, breaking up the New Day. Of course, this was made before what happened to Big E, but I still think it's a very fun watch, so take it with a pinch of salt and go and enjoy. I've also done how I'd book AEW Double or Nothing 2022. Book the whole card, storylines, the whole shebang, so that's available on YouTube now. And in the next week or so, some great collaborations coming out, and which you're involved on both as well. What is the greatest WrestleMania of all time, and what is the greatest WrestleMania match of all time? Those videos should finally be coming out over the next week or so. So there's a lot of great content creators, including Barry. So if you're a fan of his content, he will be on the channel featuring those videos. So make sure to go and check those out as well.
Thanks. So that's the end of the stream. That's it. I'll end it now.
Thank you.